Thank you for joining us as we head into the home stretch here today. Again, I'm Dan Joseph. I'm the writer of Last Ride of the Iron Horse on Gehrig's 1938 season, and also, if I may throw in a tiny plug for my other baseball book, Baseball's Greatest What If, which was about Pete Reiser, the Brooklyn Dodgers star whose career was ruined by his habit of running into outfield walls in the days when the walls were not padded and there was no warning track.
Good player.
Topic for a different day. So, when I was writing The Last Ride of the Iron Horse, one of my goals was to find, if it existed, the recording of Gehrig's entire speech from July 4th, 1939. And as some of you may know, the whole speech has never been found. Only 4 lines of it apparently were recorded, or at least if they were, those are the only ones that survive today. So I was hoping that maybe somewhere somebody had either a transcription disc, you know, this was before tape, a transcription disc, or a newsreel film of Gehrig doing the whole speech. And you know, I was looking for this. That's what we're used to hearing.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
And there are only a couple other lines recorded from the speech. So I check out various sources, and I find a reference online about a guy in Chicago who sells baseball-related DVDs. He said he had more of the speech. So I called him up, and I asked, do you really have more of Lou Gehrig's speech? He claimed he did, and I asked him to play it for me over the phone. And I listened to it, and I realized, darn, it's close, but it's not quite Gehrig's speech. What it was from a 1956 CBS television show where they reenacted Gehrig's battle with ALS. And this is the guy who played Gehrig in this show, an actor named Wendell Corey. I'm going to play you a little bit of the speech as it was reproduced for the show. It's close. They did a good job, but as you'll hear in a second, it's not, you can tell pretty quickly it's not the actual Lou Gehrig speech.
And even a giant from across the river, when we give our right arm to beat the World Series, whatever the field, that's something. And when you have a wonderful wife who has shown more courage than I ever hoped to have, that's really great. And when you've spent 6 years with a great little manager like Fellow Huskies, and the next time with the finest, smartest manager in baseball today, Joe McCarthy. With all this, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
So, that's a pretty good job for, a TV studio. They got the Yankee Stadium echo going. They got the right accent. They did good. Anyway, so while I was looking for Gehrig, the original Gehrig speech, I started encountering these radio clips, these Lou's appearances on the big-time radio programs back in the days before television. People would listen to the radio at night in their living room the same way they later would just watch TV. Lou, especially after Ruth retired, he started to kind of get a little bit into show business. He, as you can see here, this is not he's not playing Fred Flintstone. He was posing so he could be Tarzan in the movies. This is 1936. He didn't get Tarzan, didn't get that role, but he did eventually land a role in a kind of a B-grade Western called Rawhide, where he plays Lou Gehrig, pretending to retire and go out west to live on, I guess, like a dude ranch. He kind of liked, with Eleanor's encouragement, he kind of liked getting into show business and having some attention to himself, not connected to Babe Ruth. And he started appearing on the big time radio programs. This is with Fanny Brice, who's most famous for playing Baby Schnooks on the radio. He would sometimes take part in like kind of sports roundtables. This is with a sports editor, Davis J. Walsh, 1937. And this one is with the comedian and ventriloquist Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. McCarthy is the one on the left. Bergen is right. That is the father, incidentally, of Candace Bergen, the actress. And what's interesting here is that this took place in 1940, a whole year after Lou retired. I wish I could play the audio from the show. I tried to get it. The Library of Congress has it. And it's hard to get the permission to, get it released to the public. So I don't really have much, but I can tell you this, that Lou sounds pretty much like he always did. He didn't have the bulbar form of ALS that affected his speech. He sounds just like he always does, although a little bit less robust. Normally he speaks very loudly, and here he doesn't sound quite so loud. But he smoothly went through the script, and it was a funny show. Let's see, what do I got next here? Okay, so now, Lou's earliest foray into show business was this 1927 record. He and Babe Ruth recorded this after the 27th season. 27 was the year that Ruth hit 60 home runs. Gehrig kind of chased him throughout the year. He ended with 47. And this home run duel, unprecedented in baseball history to that point, really garnered a lot of national attention. And so after the season, they made this record. You will see that Lou's comedy chops and Ruth's, it was okay. The script for this record was okay. But it's interesting to hear how young Lou sounded at this point.
And this was when?
This was after the 1927 season. Here it comes here, momentarily. And I'm not hearing it for some reason.
Hello, babe.
Hello.
You know me, don't you, babe?
I can't place your face, but your shadow is very familiar.
I'm Lou Gehrig. Now, do you remember me?
Remember you after the past summer, I'll never forget you.
It's funny you didn't recognize me right away. I played on the same team with you all season.
Yes, but you were so close to me, I was afraid to look back to see who you were.
I gave you a great race, didn't I, babe?
Boy, you ran me raggy. Listen, Lou, how did you get to stocking home runs?
It was like this. I watched you and read how much money you were getting. And I got to thinking.
Thinking? With what?
Never mind about with what. I went to college. Columbia, in fact. You've heard of Columbia, haven't you?
Sure, that's the college entirely surrounded with delicatessen stores and Yankee scouts. How many years did you go to college?
I was 7 years in the freshman class.
They can't keep a guy 7 years in the same class.
That's what I tried to tell him.
That's probably the best line in the record. It goes on for another 5 minutes like this. But now Lou was, at this point in his career, he seemed content to let Ruth be the star. He was, a baseball star at this point. This was about the time the Yankees put numbers on the back of their uniforms. They gave Lou number 4 because
He batted fourth.
he batted fourth, right? Ruth, he batted third. But Lou didn't always, he seemed content to let Ruth be the star. Let me see, where was it going with this? Okay, at this time, now the Yankees had, their manager was this guy, Miller Huggins. Huggins was a little guy, about 5'5", 5'6", and his job was to control his big part of his job was to keep Babe Ruth in line and keep him from drinking and eating himself and into excess and just keeping him fit and showing up for the games. I got a clip here. This is from 1929. This is a low-res. This is a film clip. I think it's the only clip of Miller Huggins speaking in existence. It was taken in spring training that year. He's talking to the newsreels, kind of previewing the coming season. You'll see that Lou is present, but Lou's being shy. He doesn't want to talk. Let's listen in. February of 1929. Miller Huggins speaking. 3, 2, 1. Go, Miller. Okay.
He's shy.
He's shy. He's creeping toward us, as you can see. Here he comes.
Boys, on the 25th of February, 1929, we are in the city of St. Petersburg, one of the greatest cities in the world for training purposes. Training for getting in shape for one of the greatest races in the history of American League. I'm sorry that Babe is not here this morning, but he's in Miami looking at the fight. Knowing that what he'd say anyhow, and reference to himself, which is that he's going to have one of the greatest years of his life. Gehrig, come here. Right, where's Gehrig? Gehrig won't come.
Tell him Gehrig can't pitch no more.
Well, but I know. If he can't talk, he's going to leave the American League and hit him this year. I saw they give you a change and say, come on now, I really want you. Come on. Listen, you're going vaudeville next year. Come on. Well, now I know, but don't get angry, boys.
If you couldn't hear Lou in the background there, what he said was, "I came here to play ball, not to take pictures." So, and I found there's a radio clip also where after the 37 World Series where an announcer is trying really hard to get Lou to come to the microphone. And all he says is, I'm just lucky to play with a great ball club, that's all. And then he walked away, he wouldn't talk anymore. So now, this next thing, this is from 1932. Now we're really getting into the Lou's radio years. Yankees are playing the Cubs in the World Series. This is, of course, the World Series where Babe Ruth famously called his shot in Game 3, pointed to the center field stand supposedly and said, "I'm going to hit the next one out," off Chicago Cubs pitcher Charlie Root in Wrigley Field. So around this time, the Fleischman's Yeast Radio Hour was a popular radio show. It was hosted by the singer Rudy Valley, who was kind of like the teen idol of 1932. They were looking to expand the show, make it an hour-long presentation. They had a big premiere coming up, I think October 6th, 1932, right after the World Series ended. Rudy Valley was a huge baseball fan. He wanted to get Babe Ruth to appear on the show. Babe, for whatever reason, was not available, didn't want to do it, so they got the next best thing, and that was Lou Gehrig. So, Babe, let me just backtrack here. This show aired 5 days after Ruth hit the famous called shot. And there it is right there. That is Babe supposedly, at least, pointing at the center field stands. I personally, it kind of looks more like he's pointing at the pitcher, I think. But so they got Gehrig instead for the show. The way these shows worked was that it wasn't like a radio, it wasn't sports talk radio. They were reading from scripts prepared by professional writers. There was advertising, it was tightly timed and programmed. That's Rudy Valley, incidentally. So Lou came into the studio in New York this afternoon, and he was probably given a script to read, and probably he made some small changes in it. And then they went live on the air at 8 o'clock that night. And you're going to hear the actual radio program, and I found the script. So you can see, you know, how much they deviated from the script.
All of which leads us up to the gentleman now standing at the microphone in person. One of the leading exponents of my favorite sport, a local boy who made good in a big way. The man Chicago pitchers love to hate. Mr. Lou Gehrig, step right up and take a bow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lou Gehrig.
Thank you, Rudy, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say a few words on my favorite topic. That said topic being a gent by the name of George Herman Ruth. What a man. The babe and I got back to town an hour ago from an all-day fishing trip out on the south shore of the Long Island Sound.
And that's the actual fishing trip.
Between weekfish, the gang did a lot of reminiscing about the series, and everybody agreed that the high point of the whole works was Babe's homer in the 5th inning of the 3rd game out in Chicago. I played a lot of baseball, but I have never seen so much nerve on display before. Babe had 2 strikes on him. There were 50,000 Cub fans giving him the old Bronx cheer, and the Cub players were riding him from the field. So what does he do? He stands up there and tells the world that he's going to sock that next one. And not only that, but he tells the world right where he's going to sock it, into the center field stand. A few seconds later, the ball was just where he pointed, in the center field stand. He called his shot and then made it. I asked him, what can you do with a guy like that?
When I found this clip in 2019, I was just about finishing my book. And this is from 32, obviously the book is about 1938. It didn't really fit into the format of the book. So I kind of held it for a couple of years. Then on October 1st, 2020, which was the anniversary of the called shot, I put it out on Twitter one afternoon. And I swear within 10 seconds it was retweeted by SABR, the Society for American Baseball Research. And it just took off from there. And last time I checked, it got like 80,000 views on Twitter and like 200,000 views on YouTube. You know, definitely the most viral video I've ever had. And a lot of people commented, you know, that this is proof that Ruth actually called his shot. I don't know if it counts as proof, because Gehrig was reading from a script, but in my opinion, Gehrig wouldn't have read the script if it wasn't a true story. Because Gehrig was on deck at the time. If anyone could hear and see what was going on, it was him. So I think this kind of tilts the scale toward Ruth actually calling the shot. So now let's move ahead a few years. 1936, Ruth is retired. Gehrig is now the dominant slugger in the American League. He was the MVP that year. He has a new star teammate in Joe DiMaggio, seen here on the left. Piero LaGuardia in the middle there. Yankees run a string of winning 4 straight World Series. Gehrig is now becoming a more regular presence on the radio, and he's a star in his own right. He's getting attention for his consecutive game streak in addition to his hitting. 36 World Series, the Yankees are playing the New York Giants, and their star pitcher is Carl Hubble, a National League MVP that season, famous for kind of an odd pitching motion where I think he'd turn his hand over.
You can see right there.
Yeah, as you can see right there. It wasn't called the fadeaway, it was screwball. Screwball, thank you. Thanks. So before the 36 World Series, some radio producer decided to get the 2 of these guys together for a show, for a little skit, one might say. And here,
You know, Lou, I seem to remember you saying that the Yankees would win the World Series by Monday night.
Well, Carl, can I help it if it rained last Thursday?
It didn't rain today.
No. And it didn't rain Thursday either.
I kind of wish it had, Lou. Your Yankees sure gave it to me Sunday, and your homer cinched it.
Well, I was lucky, Carl. It was the biggest curveball in the world, but it was about time. I'd batted against you for quite a while without even getting a loud foul. And that Schumacher, was he tough today?
He sure pitched a ball game. What was it he threw you when he struck you out in the 3rd with the bases full? Or is that too personal?
It's personal, all right. He threw me everything. And then he came through for the 3rd strike with his Sunday pitch. It was a curveball, and I missed it a mile.
I'll have to get him to teach it to me.
You've got enough right now. What do you say we forget about today and talk about tomorrow? What's going to happen anyhow?
The Giants are a sink. If Fitzhim will show you more than you saw today.
Oh, sure, the Giants are a cinch. Just like they were in that 18-4 game. It's a good thing for you fellas we let up in that game yesterday.
What do you mean let up? You got 6 runs in the 9th inning.
That's when we let up. We were afraid if we made any more, you wouldn't show up for the 3rd game.
So, Lou, he had a nice clear voice. He could handle himself on radio. He got better over time. But there was this incident in 1937. Now, Lou, as you may know, he was the first athlete to appear on a box of Wheaties. That was 1934. He was with Wheaties for about 3 years. Then, and I think in 37, he jumps cereals, so to speak. He got signed to a new endorsement contract by a new competitor to Wheaties, a new cereal called Huskies. He doesn't look very convinced that Huskies are good, but they were paying him. So he goes on a show, one of the big-time national radio shows called Ripley's Believe It or Not. Ripley, let me wait till this picture comes up. Okay, so Ripley's shtick was to present the odd, the unusual, the extraordinary. There was many years later. There was a TV show hosted by Jack Palance. Ripley's Believe It or Not museums can still be found around the country. He was publicizing one-eyed girls and people with horns growing out of their head. Not necessarily the most believable stuff, but it went over big at that time. And Huskies was one of the advertisers, one of the sponsors of his show, so they put Lou on the show. Now, Lou, at the end of July 37, he appeared, and the announcer asked him, "So, Lou, what is your favorite breakfast cereal?" And Lou reflexively said, "Wheaties." And naturally, this caused sort of a national wave of laughter in him, and it generated some funny headlines. And it actually generated a lot of publicity for Huskies. So a few weeks later, they brought him back. Let me go back just a little bit. Bear with me. They brought him back on the show to make light of his first appearance, and you're going to hear that now. This is with the opening to Ripley's Believe
It or Not. And with the jangling of camel bells comes the caravan of truth, featuring Robert L. Ripley and presented by that new taste sensation in breakfast cereals, Huskies, spelled Huskies. The new whole wheat flakes with that different flavor. The favorite cereal of leading athletes in every sport. Yes? And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have an old friend here with us tonight. He's a member of those world champion New York Yankees, which today lead the New York Giants 3-1 in their battle for the World Series title. And here he is, Larkin Lou Gehrig, star first baseman of the New York Yankees, the Iron Man of baseball. To the microphone. I'm glad to see you, and congratulations on that home run.
Thanks, Bob, and I'm glad to see you.
Say, Lou, with the way the series is shaping up now, do you think there's any chance it'll go 7 full games?
Well, Ford, those Giants are a fighting club, but if we can have Gomez in the box for us tomorrow, I think we'll win that championship.
Switching from baseball to another topic for the moment, I understand that your manager, Christy Walsh, has arranged with Saul West, the movie producer, for you to star in a picture in Hollywood. Is that right?
Half right, Ford. I'm going to have a pretty good role, I guess. But as for being a star, that's another thing. It's pretty tough to make the big leagues in Hollywood.
Well, Lou, if you play in as many movies as you have baseball games, you'll be a star, all right. And you can keep in shape out there, too, if if you'll start off the day by diving into a big bowl of Huskies.
That's a real load off my mind, boy. Because seriously, I do go for Huskies in a big way. They're the best tasting cereal I ever ate, and I guess I tried them all.
Well, and good luck to you.
He appeared on one more, Ripley's Believe It or Not, and I have the script for it. I don't have the audio.